Hi guys, it's Sherry. I hope that you are having a wonderful day. Let's craft some happy. Y'all stay tuned. So guys, we are still crafting our scraps because there are so many different things that we can do to use up some of the scraps that we accumulate on a daily basis. I don't know about you guys, but it is not uncommon for me to fill a garbage bag and a half a day in crafting debris. It is so easy to do, and I can't keep every scrap, so I throw some out, but I do keep some of my larger pieces. And today we're going to take some of those pieces and use them to make Valentine's Day cards or gift tags, however you want to do them. And I've made these two already, and they are just so adorable, so quick, so easy. And we are making these with cut apart scraps as well as paper scraps. When I was making some of the journals and things for my kits, I had a lot of white paper left over. So I am using this white paper to turn it into these little cards. And also, I have got strips and strips of cut apart pieces that I didn't use in projects last year, but I am going to incorporate them in projects for today. So I am going to make a couple of very quick cards with you guys, and you'll see just how easy it is. And make sure that you stick around for part 2 of this video, because we are going to make envelopes for these, and we'll be using the old school method of making envelopes before we had our punch board. So stick around for that. The first thing that we need to do is we need to decide which cut apart we want to use for this project. And I want to use this one right here, but I don't want all of this border that's around it. I just want a little bit of the border, so I am going to come in with my ruler and my blade and just trim away some of the excess. All right, so I trimmed it down to this, and now I can come back and find a piece of paper that is actually going to fit this when it's folded. Now this piece I know will fit it, but I need to trim this down just a little bit. And I can't give exact measurements on this because it's all going to depend on the cut apart size that you're using as well as the scrap piece that you have. So I am going to trim this down to fit this, and I'll be right back. All right guys, so I cut my card scrap piece down to 3.5 by 6, and then I'm going to fold it in half. The size that you use for your card is going to depend totally on you. It'll depend on the size of your cut apart or whatever it is you're dressing your card with, and then how large you want your card to be. So this is just what I'm working with, but it's not the size that you have to work with. So all I'm going to do is take this 3.5 by 6 inch card and fold it in half. And now I can take this and put it down, but before I do, I want to come back and grab some more of this XOXO border because I just love it. I think it's so cute, and it really just adds some whimsical charm to the actual card itself. So I am going to place this down right here in the middle, and I'll trim off this excess. And now I can take this and put it on top, and that's just going to be so delightful. And I'm going to use my AdTech tape runner, and I'll come back and just try to get this placed in the center. I am really liking how this looks, but just like I did on this one, I want to add that stitching to the border because I think it just helps to just give this a little bit more character. So all I'm doing is taking my pen, and I'm going to make small stitch marks all the way around, and how you choose to do this is completely up to you. You don't have to do it at all, but I just think that it adds a little bit of charm to this project. Okay, and as you can see, we have got a really cute little card with the stitching around it. And you can also see that my stitching isn't perfect, and that's okay because this is really a fun little whimsical card. So now we have 3 cards that look like this, and they are just adorable. We are going to make one more card, and I'm going to use this one from this pack. So this time I'll just bring in my ruler and I'll cut this out. And now I can come back and I'm going to remove this piece. And so you can see that the piece that I'm working with is larger than this piece. So now I need to find a card base that I have, which is this size, that's actually large enough for this. And this is going to work, but I want to trim it down a little bit because I don't want all of this white space. So I am going to trim this and I'll be right back. Okay, so I trimmed this card to 4 by 8, and all I'm going to do, just like I did with the other one, is fold it over. And I'll come back and score this. And I'm going to flip it over and decide, do I want it to open this way or do I want it to open this way? And I think I want it to open this way. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it up here just a little bit because I do want a little bit of that white space, but not as much as I had before. So I'll come back in with my tape runner. So I put my tape on the back of this one to turn it into like a little sticker. And I'll take this and I'm going to just put it down. And I'll come back with my bone folder and get that straightened out. Then I am going to come back with these heart stickers. And I have been using these like crazy because I love how they instantly change my project. And I am going to put one right there. But then I am going to put one here. And one over here. Okay, so this looks great. I absolutely love it. But now we need a message for right here. So what I did is I went into my little Valentine sticker book and I pulled out this love sticker, and now I can place that right in there. And right away, I've got a very quick and cute little card or tag, whatever I want to use it for. And I can bring in these and you can see just how easy and quick this project was. And guys, we're making these with scraps, and I am using embellishments that I'm either making or had in my stash from last year, just like these little puffies here. These were bought at Hobby Lobby for 90% off at the end of season last year. So I am doing some very low-cost crafting, especially using scraps that at some point, if they became overwhelming, I would throw them out. But I don't have to throw these out because I have a cute little home for them, and it is a card. All right, guys, so now we need an envelope for this 4x4 card, and I am going to show you the way that I do it, which is the way that I used to do it before I got a punch board, and it's the way that we crafters used to do it years ago before we all got punch boards. And we all do this alike, but we all do it a little differently. So let's get started on making this. So my card measures 4x4, and I am going to add an inch to both sides of the width of this card. So that means that I'm going to start with the width of 6 inches. So I am going to bring in my card that I've already cut down, and I have it on the 6-inch side. When I have it in on the 6-inch side, I am going to score this at 7/8. Then I am going to turn it and score it again at 7/8. And that'll give me my side flaps that I'll need to be able to glue this card together to actually make the fold up part of the envelope. And this will be the way that you do it for any envelope that you might want to make. The way that I do mine is I take the total size of the card, which is 4, and I subtract 1/2 inch. So that gives me 3.5. So I know that my first score needs to be at 3.5. And I'll go ahead and make that score. Then, once I've made that score, I know that my card is 4 inches. So that means that I need to have a middle part of that card that is at least 4 inches long. But I always give myself a buffer, so I add 1/4 inch. And that means that I need to add 1/4 inch to that 4. So now this middle space here won't be 4, it'll be 4 1/4. So I've got a score mark at 3.5. I need to move over 4 1/4 in order to be able to make my next score mark. And when I move over 4 1/4, that is going to take me to 7 3/4. And that will leave me with my flat piece. And because I like for my flat piece to be 1 1/2 inches, I know that from 7 3/4 and I move over 1 1/2 inches, that's going to take me to 9 1/4. So now I know that I need a piece that measures 9 1/4 by 6 to be able to make the envelope for this card. But the method that I just gave you works for other cards. So let's go ahead and fold and burnish all of our scores. And when you open it up, you'll know your top from your bottom because the top has this flat piece, which is very small, and the bottom has 2 long rectangles. We are going to come in and remove those rectangles. And the way that I do mine is I angle cut in slightly. And then I turn it because I now need to come and remove this piece all together. But to do that, I want to come in and just angle cut in on my cut piece. So I'll angle cut in here. And you're going to be left with this. Now at the top, we need to remove these 2 rectangles. So I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to do a slight angle cut in. And then I'll turn it. And I'll do a slight angle cut here. And we'll be left with this. So now we're going to take this and we're going to fold this piece up just like that. And I like to close mine using my glue, and I'm going to place my glue directly on the bottom flap. And now I'll bring it up. And I'm going to just seal this envelope. And now you can see when I close my top just how cute this envelope is. So now I can take my card, and I should have a pretty good fit. So I'll put the card in, and you can see that the card fits, and it'll fold over just like that. So now what I like to do is I'll use either double-sided tape or a glue dot. And since this is just a little Valentine's card that I would actually give out to someone in person, I am just going to position a glue dot there, and when I'm ready, I'll remove it. But I also want to come back, and I am going to just add this gorgeous bow because I think it just kicks this up a notch in cuteness. And I'm going to place this down, get it nice and even. And don't you guys think that that is super cute for this card? I do. I think it is just so exquisite. So I am going to set this one to the side, and we're going to make an envelope for the 3.5 by 3 card, which is this one. So we'll make an envelope for this one, and that way you'll definitely have this process down by the time that we finish. All right, so my card is 3 inches wide, and I want to add 2 inches to give me that fold over space. So my card needs a width of 5 inches. Then my card is 3.5 inches long, and remember, for the bottom flap that folds up, we're going to take away 1/2 inch from the card. So the card is 3.5 inches. My bottom flap needs to be 3 inches. So my first score is going to be at 3. Then my card is 3.5 inches tall, and that means that the body part of the envelope, this part here, needs to be at least 3.5 inches tall, but I want to add 1/4 inch just to give myself that buffer room. So my card base part here, instead of being 3.5 inches, becomes 3 3/4 inch. So we started with 3, then we move over 3 3/4. So now we're up to 6 3/4 in the length. But we need that 1 1/2 inch fold over flap. So we know we're starting with 6 3/4, and then we're going to add 1 1/2 to that, and that'll give us 8 1/4. So now we know we need a paper size that measures 5 by 8 1/4. So I am going to get a piece of paper that measures that size, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. And this is 3 1/2. We want to subtract 1/2 inch. So our first score is at 3. Then we need 3.5 inches for the middle body part, plus 1/4 inch for some buffer. So that's going to take us to 6 3/4. And now we have a 1 1/2 inch flap. So we need a piece of paper that measures 5 by 8 1/4 to be able to make this particular envelope. Then I'm going to rotate it, and I'm always going to score at 7/8. And then I'll fold and burnish my scores. And now I'll come back in, and I am going to go up to the score mark, angle in just a little, turn it to remove this piece, but I'll angle it just a little, just like that. And I'll do this on the other side here. And now we've got the bottom done. I can come to the top and remove these 2 triangles using that same method. So I'm going to angle in, and I'll turn it, and I'll notch it out with an angle, and I'll do the same thing over here. And guys, if you follow this method when you're making your envelopes, you'll always end up with an envelope that fits your project. So if you just follow that formula, you should always be able to get a good fit. So now we're going to put this together, and I place my glue on the flap. You can use tape on this if you want. I just like using my glue. Then I'll bring this up, and I'll get this stuck down. And now I'll bring in my card, and we're going to slide that card in. And so you can see where we took off that 1/2 inch, you can see the card. And then we're going to fold over, and now we've got a closed envelope, and you can use whatever embellishment you want to close it if you're giving this as a gift. So I am going to, again, just set this to the side, and we are done with making envelopes. I hope that that process has been helpful. So once you do it a couple times, it'll become second nature, and you'll be able to just whip these out in no time. So I am going to bring in all the cards as well as the envelopes that we made for them. And guys, you can see just how gorgeous this little project is. So I hope that you have liked this project. And if you have, please hit the like button. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, I would love to have you join my online crafting family. You guys have a great day. Happy crafting, and we'll chat later. Bye.